Well, I'll tell you one thing. This film should not be on your to-do list as to watching this movie. So, by that little intro, which I was very lame, I'm sorry. But unfortunately, it's for a lame movie, so I guess it's kind of meaningful in that sense. For my movie review for today, guys, I'm going to talk about the film The To-Do List. It stars Audrey Plaza, Bill Hader, Clark Gregg, and it's directed by Bill Hader's wife. Um, so I guess that's another reason why Bill Hader was probably in the movie. Andy Samberg has a small role in this one as well. So basically, a lot of SNL and TV, notable TV actors and actresses were in this one. In the to-do list, guys, basically there's a valedictorian played by Audrey Plaza. She's most well known for Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Safety Not Guaranteed, and she recently also had a voice role in Monsters University. And she's also known for Parks and Recreation. I know a lot of people like to watch that show. But basically, she's a high school graduate in this. Obviously, a lot older than that in real life. And basically, before she heads off to college, people were always picking on her in high school. She was always the smart girl, always a part of these clubs, always had the highest grades in her class. And so for the first time, rather than being the nerdy, antisocial girl that she was in high school, she kind of wants to get out of that box. And so by the time she gets to college, she'll be out of her comfort zone and almost be a different person in a way. Another reason why she wants to change her personality so much is because she wants to experience losing her virginity, and she also wants to experience, just sex in general. Um, so basically, she makes a checklist, basically, of everything that she wants to experience, whether it is sexual intercourse or masturbation or things of that nature. She also does some other things, but it's a very minor keynote in this movie of the other things that are on the to-do list. But it mostly focuses on the sexual experiences, since apparently this director thinks it's hilarious. Um, so basically, there's people who have a crush on her. There's people who she has a crush on, and there's people. She works at a pool throughout the summer before she heads off to this college, and there's people there that like her just like as she likes them. So basically, she's trying to experience as many sexual things as she can. There's parts of the movie where you think she's going to pursue a relationship with somebody. Either that person doesn't go through with a later sexual thing she wants to experience, or another guy wants to have that sexual experience with her, thus being able to check that off on her checklist or her to-do list, I guess in this case. Um, and so basically, throughout the rest of the movie, there's basically the movie, is truly about when you experience these sexual things, you almost want to experience it with somebody that you really that really has a lot of meaning to you. Like someone that you're really close with in a relationship with, someone you could potentially marry someday. Because Audrey Plaza learns throughout the movie that basically, it's great if you want to experience these sexual acts, but basically people have to earn these things. They really have to fall in love. They really have to feel things for the person that they're having these sexual experiences with, and it's simply not something you can put on a checklist and get done over a course of a month or 2 months. And so basically, her character learns that throughout the movie. So the premise I just shared, I mean, that sounds like an interesting movie, doesn't it? I mean, it did, and I mean, I wanted to see this movie throughout the summer, but I unfortunately was never able to. But I was able to rent this at a Redbox recently, and I was entertained for the first half of this movie, but I gotta say, by the second half of this movie, I was really not impressed with what I was looking at. So for the positives and negatives, you guys, Audrey Plaza does have a very hilarious pool job throughout the movie. Definitely some of the better jokes in the movie are done at her pool job. For those who've seen the film Caddyshack, you'll definitely catch the Caddyshack reference in this. There's a scene where she loses her top around the guy she has a crush on and things of that nature. So a lot of really funny pool scenes happen in this movie. Bill Hader and Clark Gregg's performances are really good in this. This is definitely a very different role for Clark Gregg because we're used to seeing him as Agent Coulson on the Avengers and in Agents of Shield on for ABC. And I think this is a very different role for him, and it was actually quite refreshing to see him in a role like this, just because we really never see kind of a sexual side of Clark Gregg, so it's funny to see him in this doing that. Bill Hader, he plays kind of this drunk manager of Audrey Plaza in this movie. He doesn't know how to swim, and ironically, he works at a pool. So there's that kind of side story with Audrey Plaza teaching him how to swim, and in return, he won't make fun of her at the pool like he did in the early half of the movie. Um, But yeah, as far as performances go, I think Bill Hader and Clark Gregg do deliver a pretty decent performance here. Not the best performances of their lives by any means, but pretty reasonable performances. The first half of this movie I thought was pretty funny. I mean, it definitely had a lot of things going for it. It definitely felt like a modern day American Pie, set in the early 90s rather than the late 90s like American Pie was. Um, it just definitely, it had something promising going for it. And as I'll get in my negatives here, by the second half, it just kind of destroys that thing that it was originally intended to go for. I like how the film plays off of people's beliefs of what the 80s and 90s were. Definitely like sunny days all the time during the summer. People playing Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis all the time. Even when they're at the movie theater in one scene, even the things you see on the screen look like something you would see in the 90s as far as advertisements and trailers and special effects, and how special effects were not quite up to par to what they are today. Definitely like Die Hard and Toy Story and things of that nature, like were playing on the screen. I'm not saying like we see those kind of things, but things of that nature seem to be playing on the screen while they're in the theater, from what I recall. Um, so as far as playing off of what people remember about the '90s, since I lived in that decade as well, I think the film does a very good job, um, kind of depicting that time period on screen. Um, There was some interesting use of motion graphics in this, specifically in the opening scene, with the opening credits, how certain items in Aubrey Plaza's room kind of having like the cast members on it and stuff. So I thought the opening credits was pretty clever. Also, whenever she does something successful off her to-do list, like let's say she successfully masturbated, there would be like a little graphic saying masturbate and go ding, something like that. So it was kind of clever for a while, but it got a little old after a while. But at first, specifically during the first half of the movie, when the film was actually working, I thought it was pretty successful on the first half at least. For the negatives, you guys, since I do have quite a few of them, like I said, I really didn't like this movie that much. There was almost no conflict at all in this movie, and I think when you're telling a story of any kind, no matter what genre it is, you have to have conflict. You have to have something this character has to overcome. You have to have something that has to get resolved by the end of the movie. You have to have a problem that these characters face, and that they have to change, and that they have to do something that they've never done before, that we would never see them do at the beginning or before the movie started. And the to-do list doesn't do that. I mean, Aubrey Plaza's personality changes. She's experiences these sexual things that she wants to experience quite easily. In fact, it's almost like a completely different character by the middle of the movie. But I got a sense that there was no problems. Like, she was able to get everything perfectly fine, everything that she wanted. Didn't run into any problems at all. And even when she did, I mean, it was easily resolved by, oh, okay, well, that person just disappeared, or that person, she just broke up with that person and started dating this person. And, I got no sense of conflict in this movie, and that's what really bothered me. The second half of this movie is very dull and poorly written. Every funny joke in the movie is told in the first half. So by the time you get to the second half, where Aubrey Plaza basically has almost everything on her checklist completed, um, it just feels dull, poorly written, and there's almost nothing funny by that time in the movie. And it just felt dull, and I felt like I was watching a completely different direct-to-video bad movie at that point. Um, there was some unnecessary singing in this. There was definitely a lot of scenes where they were kind of trying to be playful, and Audrey Plaza, had these friends that like the same songs as her, and that they would break out into singing, and it just got dull and stupid and pointless after a while. And I really wish the director of this movie either cut those scenes out, maybe just do it once in short, or just not do it at all, because it just got annoying and stupid after a while. Um, there were some very unrelatable characters and character actions in this. I understand there's a lot of people out there that have very high sexual drives, but this film makes it look like every aspect of life is about sex. And it isn't. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, sex is a very important thing in a human life. It's a very important thing in relationships and marriage. But people do, they have things going on in their lives outside of sex. And this movie just does not have respect to that kind of aspect of life at all. And it just really, I almost felt humiliated after a while. I mean, it just felt like, everybody has to focus everything on sex these days. And I mean, it just really is not the case. Um, So I just feel like I couldn't relate to some of the things that were going on in this. With both the characters and the character actions, it's just not a very relatable movie in that sense. Um, Aubrey Plaza's character in this movie I thought was very uninteresting, and I don't think that's Aubrey Plaza's fault. I think that goes once again to the bad second half of the script that just really does not work, and it just, like I said, the conflicts. There's no conflicts in this. Aubrey Plaza, I feel like she's just taking one caricature, like of Scott Pilgrim or of what she played of in Safety Not Guaranteed, and she's basically just repeating that same character of just the deadpan negative character, and she does it in the most boring possible way this time around. And I really didn't think it worked this time around. I've seen Audrey Plaza in interviews, and she seems like a very neat, nice person. And I really hope to see that side of her in a future role if she takes on more comedic movies in the future. Because what I saw here really didn't work, and I really almost got bored watching her on screen in this movie, which is too bad. Because, like I said, I love Safety Not Guaranteed. I love Scott Pilgrim, and I even loved her voice role that she provided in Monsters University. Just a really disappointing experience, and I had a lot more hope for this movie, and it just didn't live up to what I wanted. So the to do list, guys, I am giving it a 6 out of 10. That might be a little generous. Like I said, the first half is a lot of fun, but by the second half of this movie, it's just a completely dull and uninteresting experience that just doesn't feel relatable enough for me to want to enjoy it and to experience it again. So the to do list, guys, I would skip this one. It's really not worth your time.